On a freezing winter morning inside a high-end cafe, a homeless boy clutched his worn-out Shoeshine box, desperately searching for customers just to survive. No one spared him a glance, until a powerful man left behind a wallet stuffed with cash. The boy found it, torn between hunger and doing what's right, and chose to return it. But when he brought it to a luxurious office building, everything suddenly turned into a nightmare. And when the wallet's owner finally appeared, what happened next will break your heart. Before we continue, tell us what time it is and where you're watching from, subscribe and hype, because tomorrow I've got something extra special for you. The city of North Vale woke up cold that morning, the kind of cold that settles into your bones and doesn't let go. Fog hung low over the streets, turning the downtown skyline into nothing more than gray shadows. People moved fast, heads down, breath visible in the freezing air. Nobody stopped, nobody looked around. Everyone had somewhere to be, something to do, someone waiting. On the corner of 12th and Alder, the Old Elm Cafe glowed warm through its frosted windows. Inside, people sipped expensive coffee and tapped on laptops. Outside, the world kept moving. Cairo stood near the cafe entrance, his small frame almost invisible against the brick wall. He was 12 years old, but his eyes looked older. Much older. He wore a jacket that was too thin for winter, the collar torn on one side, the zipper broken halfway up. His shoes didn't match. The left one was too big, the right one too small. He'd found them in different dumpsters on different nights. In his hands he held a wooden Shoeshine box. The leather strap was worn smooth from years of use. It had belonged to his mother, Malia. She'd worked as a housekeeper, cleaning offices and homes until her hands were raw. She'd kept this box from her own father, told Cairo it was honest work, dignified work. 3 years ago she'd collapsed while mopping a floor. A stroke, the hospital said. She never woke up. Cairo was 9 then. The social workers came, talked about foster care, about group homes. He tried one. The older kids took his things. They called him names. One night he just left. He'd been on his own ever since. He learned fast: shine shoes when you can. Collect bottles and cans, wash car windows at red lights, sleep where it's warm. Stay out of sight. A man in a gray suit walked past, expensive shoes clicking on the sidewalk. "Excuse me, sir," Cairo said, his voice polite, quiet. "Shoeshine. Only $2. The man didn't even look at him, just kept walking. A woman in a red coat came next. Cairo stepped forward, careful not to get too close. "Ma'am, would you like?" "No," she said, sharp and fast. She pulled her purse tighter against her body and walked faster. Cairo stepped back against the wall. He was used to it. The cafe door opened, and a man stepped out. Tall, probably 60 years old, wearing a long black coat that looked like it cost more than Cairo had seen in his entire life. His hair was silver at the temples, neatly trimmed. His face was hard, the kind of face that had forgotten how to smile. Adrian Hale, owner of Hale & Company, one of the biggest financial firms in the city. His office was at the top of Hale Tower, 40 stories above the streets where Cairo slept. Cairo didn't know any of that. He just saw a man with clean shoes. "Sir," Cairo took a small step forward, holding up his box. "Shoeshine. I'll do a really good job, just $2. Adrian stopped. For a second, Cairo thought he might say yes. But then the man's eyes moved from Cairo's face down to his mismatched shoes, his torn jacket, his dirty hands. "No," Adrian said. His voice was flat, empty. Not mean, just nothing. He walked past without another word. Cairo watched him go, disappearing into the crowd of people hurrying through the cold morning. He looked down at his own shoes, at the box in his hands. His stomach hurt. He hadn't eaten since yesterday afternoon. Someone had left half a sandwich on a bench in the park. It had been enough. He pulled his jacket tighter and waited. The day was just starting. Someone would say yes eventually. They had to. By noon the wind had picked up. It cut through the streets like a blade, making Cairo's eyes water. He'd shined 3 pairs of shoes all morning. $6, enough for a hot meal, maybe 2 if he was careful. But his stomach hurt worse now. A deep ache that made it hard to think straight. The cold was seeping through his thin jacket, making his fingers stiff and clumsy. He walked back toward the Old Elm Cafe thinking maybe the lunch crowd would be better. People coming out after eating might be in a good mood, might say yes. As he got closer, he noticed something through the window. The table where that man in the black coat had been sitting earlier. There was still a coffee cup there, half full. The table looked abandoned, like someone had left in a hurry. And something else. Cairo pressed his face closer to the cold glass, his breath fogging it up. A wallet, brown leather, sitting right there on the table between the coffee cup and a folded newspaper. He looked around. The man was gone. The cafe was busy, waitresses moving between tables, but nobody seemed to notice the wallet just sitting there. Cairo's heart started beating faster. He knew what he should do: go inside, tell someone who works there, let them handle it. But his hands were shaking. Not from the cold anymore. He pushed open the door, feeling the warm air hit his face like a wave. The smell of coffee and fresh bread made his stomach twist with hunger. A few people looked up at him. A woman at a nearby table wrinkled her nose and pulled her purse closer. A man in a business suit shifted his briefcase to the other side of his chair, away from where Cairo stood. He knew that look. He'd seen it 1,000 times. Cairo walked to the table, trying to look like he belonged, like he had every right to be there. His shoes squeaked on the clean floor. He could feel eyes on him. He reached the table and picked up the wallet. Heavy, real leather, the expensive kind that gets softer with age. His fingers, rough and calloused, felt wrong touching something so fine. A waitress appeared beside him, her face sharp with suspicion. "What are you doing?" Someone left this," Cairo said quickly. "I was going to put it down and leave," she said, her voice low but firm. "We don't need any trouble." "I'm not trying to cause trouble, I just now." She crossed her arms. Cairo's face burned hot. Other people were staring now. He could hear whispers. "I'm leaving," he said quietly. He still held the wallet. "But someone left this. You should keep it safe until they come back." He tried to hand it to her, but she stepped back like he was offering her something dirty. "Just put it on the counter and go." Cairo walked to the counter near the register, set the wallet down carefully. The man behind the register, an older guy with a thick mustache, looked at him with the same suspicion. "A man left that," Cairo said, "at that table, the one in the black coat." The man nodded but didn't say thank you, didn't say anything. Cairo turned and walked out, feeling every eye in the cafe on his back. The door closed behind him, and the cold hit him again, worse than before because now he knew what warmth felt like. He stood there on the sidewalk, his stomach aching, his fingers numb. He'd done the right thing. He'd tried. But something didn't feel right. He looked back through the window. The wallet was still sitting on the counter. The man behind the register had already turned away, was making someone's coffee, had forgotten about it. What if the owner came back and the wallet was gone? What if someone else took it? What if the man never got it back? Cairo thought about the man from this morning. How he'd looked at Cairo like he was invisible. How his voice had been so empty, so tired. Maybe he needed that wallet. Maybe there was something important in it. Before he could talk himself out of it, Cairo pushed the door open again. The waitress saw him immediately. "I told you to leave." "I know, I'm sorry," but Cairo pointed at the wallet on the counter. "Can I just look inside? To see who it belongs to, so we can call them or something." "We'll handle it," she said. "But what if there's a phone number, or an address?" You could leave, that's what you could do." The man behind the register held up a hand. "It's fine, Sarah, let the kid look." He picked up the wallet and handed it to Cairo, but he didn't let go right away. "You try anything funny, I'm calling the cops. Understand?" Cairo nodded. The man released the wallet. Cairo opened it with trembling fingers. The first thing he saw made his breath catch. Cash, so much cash. He'd never seen this much money in one place. He tried to count it without being obvious. $20 bills, 50s, even a few hundreds. His mind did the math automatically. At least $800, maybe more. $800, he could eat 3 meals a day. He could buy a real coat, real shoes that matched. He could find a warm place to stay for weeks, maybe months. His vision blurred slightly. He blinked hard. "Well?" the man behind the counter asked. "See a name?" Cairo forced himself to look past the cash. There were credit cards, a driver's license. He pulled out the license, tilted it toward the light. Adrian Hale, 60 years old. The address was on Riverside Drive. That was the rich part of town, where the buildings had doormen and the cars in the parking garages cost more than most people made in a year. Adrian Hale, Cairo read aloud. Hale. The waitress Sarah leaned in closer. Like Hale and Company. The investment firm. I don't know. Cairo said. Let me see that. She took the license, looked at it, then let out a low whistle. That's him. That's Adrian Hale. He's worth millions. Probably billions. The man behind the counter shook his head. And he can't keep track of his wallet. Rich people. There's a business card here, Cairo said, pulling it from one of the slots. Heavy card stock, embossed letters. Adrian Hale, Chief Executive Officer, Hale and Company. An address. Hale Tower, 5th and Marchmont. Well, there you go, Sarah said. Someone from his office will probably come looking for it. We'll keep it here. She reached for the wallet, but Cairo pulled it back without thinking. What if nobody comes? He asked. What if he doesn't know he left it here? Then he'll retrace his steps. People always do. But what if kid? The man behind the counter's voice was firm now. We'll handle it. You did a good thing, pointing it out. But now you need to go. Cairo looked down at the wallet in his hands. At the driver's license with Adrian Hale's face, stern and unsmiling. At the business card with the address. Something in his chest pulled tight. Can I take it to him? Cairo asked. To his office. It's not far. I know where 5th and Marchmont is. Sarah laughed, not meanly, but like he'd said something ridiculous. Honey, they're not going to let you into Hale Tower looking like well. They're not going to let you in. But if I explain, the answer is no, the man said. Leave the wallet, go on now. Cairo stood there, the wallet still in his hands. Every instinct told him to do what they said. Leave it, walk away. It wasn't his problem, but he thought about his mother. About the things she'd taught him, and he thought about that photograph he'd glimpsed in the back of the wallet when the bills had shifted. A woman's smile, a little girl's face. This man had people he loved, or had loved. Past tense. Cairo knew what it felt like to lose someone you loved. He made a decision. I'm going to take it to him, Cairo said. Before they could stop him, he turned and walked quickly toward the door. Hey, the man shouted. Get back here. But Cairo was already outside, the wallet clutched against his chest, running. He ran for 2 blocks before he stopped, ducking into an alley to catch his breath. His heart hammered in his chest. They thought he was stealing it. They'd probably call the police. He had to get to Hale Tower fast. Had to return the wallet, before they could report it stolen. Cairo looked down at the wallet in his hands. He opened it again, more carefully this time. The cash was still there, still tempting, still more money than he'd seen in his entire life. But tucked in the back, behind the credit cards and the license, was a photograph. Cairo pulled it out gently. A family. The man from this morning, Adrian, but younger, his face softer, his eyes bright with something that looked like happiness. His arm was around a woman with dark hair and kind eyes. She was laughing at something, her whole face lit up with joy. And in front of them, a little girl, maybe 7 years old, with the biggest smile Cairo had ever seen. She was missing her front tooth. One of her hands was holding her mother's, the other was reaching up toward her father. They looked so happy, so complete. Cairo stared at that photograph for a long time. The woman's face reminded him of his mother. Not the way she looked, but something in her eyes, that warmth, that unconditional love. This man had people he loved, and now from the emptiness in his voice this morning, from the coldness in his eyes, Cairo could tell those people were gone. Just like his mother was gone. Cairo carefully put the photograph back in the wallet, made sure all the cash was still there, all the cards. Then he closed it, and put it deep in his inside jacket pocket, the one that still had a zipper that worked. He looked up at the gray sky. It had started to snow. Light flakes that melted as soon as they hit the ground. 5th and Marchmont, that was downtown. At least 20 blocks from here. Maybe more. His stomach hurt, he was tired, his feet ached in his mismatched shoes. But he started walking. The journey was harder than he'd expected. The sidewalks were crowded with people rushing through the cold. More than once, someone bumped into him hard enough to knock him sideways. Nobody apologized. Nobody even looked at him. He passed restaurants where people sat warm inside, eating lunch. His stomach cramped with hunger. He passed clothing stores with mannequins wearing coats that looked thick and warm. He wrapped his thin jacket tighter, but it didn't help. By the time he'd walked 10 blocks, his right foot was hurting bad. The shoe that was too small was rubbing a blister on his heel. He could feel it burning with every step. He stopped at a corner, leaning against a lamp post to rest for a minute. A man in a suit walked past, talking loudly on his phone about stock prices and quarterly earnings. He didn't even glance at Cairo. Cairo reached into his pocket, felt the wallet. He could still turn back. He could find a pawn shop, sell it. They'd give him something for the leather alone, and they wouldn't ask questions, or he could just take some of the cash. $50. Just 50. The man would never know. He had so much. Cairo's hand closed around the wallet. His mother's voice came to him, soft and tired from a long day of work. Baby, we might not have much, but we have something some rich folks don't. We have our souls intact. You can be poor in your pocket, but don't ever let yourself be poor in your heart. Cairo let go of the wallet and started walking again. 5 more blocks, then 10. The buildings got taller, nicer. The people on the sidewalks looked more expensive, more important, and then he saw it. Kale Tower rose up from the corner of 5th and Marchmont, like a mountain of glass and steel, 40 stories reaching into the gray sky. The windows reflected the clouds, making the building look like it was part of the sky itself. Cairo stopped across the street, staring up at it. He'd walked past this building before, but he'd never really looked at it, never imagined going inside. People in expensive coats and polished shoes walked in and out through the revolving glass doors. A doorman stood at the entrance, older man with sharp eyes and a uniform that probably cost more than everything Cairo owned. Cairo crossed the street, his mismatched shoes squeaking on the wet pavement. The doorman saw him coming. His posture changed immediately, straightening up, his hand moving slightly toward something on his belt. "Can I help you?" he asked. The words were polite, but the tone wasn't. "I need to go inside," Cairo said, trying to keep his voice steady. "I have something for Mr. Hale." The doorman looked him up and down, taking in every detail. The torn jacket, the mismatched shoes, the dirt on his hands, the Shoeshine box Cairo had been carrying all day. "Mr. Hale isn't taking visitors. I don't need to visit. I just need to give something to him." He left it. "Whatever you're selling, we're not interested." "I'm not selling anything." Cairo's voice came out louder than he meant. He took a breath, tried again. He left his wallet at a cafe. "I'm just trying to return it." The doorman's eyes narrowed. "His wallet?" "Yes, sir. I found it, and you walked all the way here to return it." The disbelief in his voice was clear. "Out of the goodness of your heart?" "Yes, let me see it." Cairo hesitated. If he handed over the wallet now, he'd never get it back. The doorman would take it, and Cairo would leave, and that would be that. And part of him, the part that had walked 20 blocks in the cold with a blister forming on his heel, wanted to see this through. Wanted to hand it directly to the man who'd looked through him this morning, like he was invisible. "I need to give it to Mr. Hale directly," Cairo said. The doorman stepped closer, his voice dropping. "Listen, kid. I don't know what your game is, but you need to move along, now. It's not a game. I'm telling the truth. Move along or I'll move you myself." Cairo felt heat rising in his face. This was wrong. All of it was wrong. He was trying to do the right thing and everyone treated him like he was a criminal. "Please," Cairo said, hating how small his voice sounded. "Just let me go to the front desk. I'll leave it there. I won't bother anybody. I promise." The doorman stared at him for a long moment. A couple walked up behind Cairo, the woman in a fur coat, the man in a suit that probably cost more than Cairo's mother used to make in 6 months. The doorman's attention shifted to them immediately. "Good afternoon, Mr. Chen, Mrs. Chen," he said warmly, opening the door for them. They walked past Cairo, like he wasn't there. When they were inside, the doorman looked back at Cairo. He sighed, long and tired. "Front desk only," he said. "Don't touch anything. Don't talk to anyone else. You go straight to the desk, you hand over whatever you've got, and you leave, understand?" Cairo nodded quickly. "Yes sir, thank you." The doorman stepped aside. Cairo walked through the door, and the warmth hit him like a physical thing. After walking 20 blocks in the freezing cold, the heated air inside felt almost too hot. He could feel his fingers starting to tingle as they thawed. The lobby was enormous. The ceiling stretched up 3 stories, supported by massive columns of polished marble. A chandelier hung in the center, thousands of crystal pieces catching the light and throwing rainbows across the white marble floor. Everything gleamed, everything looked expensive and untouchable. People moved through the space like they owned it, confident and purposeful. Men in suits carrying briefcases, women in heels that clicked on the marble. Everyone looked like they belonged. Cairo took a step forward, and his shoe squeaked. The sound echoed in the vast space. A few people glanced his way. He saw their expressions change. Surprise first, then confusion, then something else. Disgust maybe, or fear. A woman in a gray business suit actually stopped walking, staring at him with her mouth slightly open. She reached into her purse and pulled it closer to her body, then walked faster toward the elevators. Cairo felt his face getting hot. He wanted to disappear, wanted to be invisible, like he usually was, but he forced himself to keep walking, his shoes squeaking with every step, toward the long curved desk, at the center of the lobby. The desk was made of dark wood polished to a mirror shine. Behind it sat a woman in her 40s, blonde hair pulled back so tight it looked painful. She wore a gray suit jacket and white blouse, a small gold pin on her lapel. Her fingers moved quickly over a computer keyboard, her eyes fixed on the screen. Her nameplate said Cecilia Grant, in elegant script. Cairo approached slowly. He could see his reflection in the polished wood of the desk. Saw how he looked, dirty, poor, out of place. "Excuse me," he said quietly. Cecilia kept typing. Her fingers didn't slow down. "Excuse me ma'am," Cairo said, a little louder. She looked up. Her eyes went from his face to his torn jacket, to his mismatched shoes to the Shoeshine box in his hand. Her expression changed in an instant, going from neutral to cold. "We don't give handouts here," she said, her voice sharp and professional. "You need to leave." "I'm not asking for a handout," Cairo said quickly. "I found something. A wallet. It belongs to Mr. Hale and I." "There's a shelter on 9th Street, Cecilia interrupted. "They can help you there. Please, I just need to. I'm not going to ask again." She reached for her phone. "Leave now, or I'll have security remove you." Cairo's heart was pounding. "I'm trying to return Mr. Hale's wallet. He left it at the Old Elm Cafe this morning. I just want to give it back." Cecilia's hand paused over the phone. She looked at him more carefully now. Her eyes narrowed with suspicion. "You found Mr. Hale's wallet," she said slowly. "Yes ma'am. And you brought it all the way here to return it?" "Yes, out of the goodness of your heart." Cairo heard the disbelief in her voice. The same disbelief the doorman had. The same disbelief the people at the cafe had. "Yes," he said again. "I just want to give it back." "Let me see it." Cairo reached into his inside jacket pocket. His hand closed around the wallet. Cecilia's hand moved immediately to something under the desk. Cairo heard a soft click. "Don't move," Cecilia said, her voice suddenly sharp. "Keep your hands where I can see them." "I'm just getting the wallet." Cairo said. "You asked to see it. Step back from the desk. Now." Cairo stepped back, his heart hammering against his ribs. "I didn't do anything wrong." People in the lobby were stopping now, turning to look. A small crowd was forming. "Keep your hands up," Cecilia said. Cairo raised his hands, the wallet still in his right hand. A door to the left of the desk burst open and 2 security guards came through. moving fast. Both were big men wearing dark uniforms with badges and radios clipped to their belts. The first one, a black man whose name tag read Marcus, reached Cairo in 3 long strides. "Son, I need you to slowly put whatever's in your hand on the desk," Marcus said. His voice was firm but not unkind. "Nice and slow, it's just a wallet," Cairo said. His voice was shaking now. "I found it, I was trying to return it." "Put it on the desk," Marcus repeated. Cairo placed the wallet on the polished wood. The second guard, Dean according to his name tag, moved to Cairo's left side. Marcus stayed in front. "Is there anything else in your pockets?" Marcus asked. "Anything sharp, anything that could hurt me?" "No," Cairo said, "nothing. I'm going to search you now. Don't move. Understand?" Cairo nodded. He couldn't find his voice anymore. Marcus's hands patted down Cairo's jacket, his sides, his pockets, professional and quick. Not rough, but not gentle either. When he was done he picked up the wallet from the desk. "This is Mr. Hale's," Cecilia said. "I recognize it." Marcus opened the wallet, carefully. His eyebrows went up slightly when he saw inside. "There's a lot of cash in here," he said quietly to Dean. "I didn't take any." Cairo's voice came out too loud, echoing in the lobby. More people were watching now. He could feel all their eyes on him. "It's all there. Count it. I didn't touch it." "Calm down," Marcus said. "I'm not a thief." Tears were burning in Cairo's eyes. He blinked them back hard. He wouldn't cry. Not here, not in front of all these people. Cecilia picked up her phone, pressed a button. "Mr. Hale, this is the front desk. We have a situation. A boy claims he found your wallet." She paused, listening. "Yes, sir. Right away, sir." She hung up and looked at the guards. "Take him to the security office. Mr. Hale is coming down." "I didn't do anything wrong," Cairo said again. His voice sounded small now. Broken. "I was just trying to help." "The security office," Cecilia repeated, her voice cold and final. "Now." Dean put a hand on Cairo's shoulder. Not hard, but firm. Guiding him. Cairo looked around at all the faces watching him. Some looked curious, some looked disgusted, some looked frightened, like he was dangerous. One woman had pulled her young daughter close, covering the girl's eyes, like she was protecting her from something terrible. Cairo felt something break inside him. Not loud, not dramatic, just a quiet crack, like ice forming over still water. He'd walked 20 blocks in the freezing cold. His heel was bleeding inside his too small shoe. His stomach ached with hunger. He'd done the right thing, the thing his mother had taught him to do, and they were treating him like a criminal. Marcus picked up Cairo's Shoeshine box from where he'd set it down. "This yours?" Cairo nodded. "I'll carry it for you." They walked him across the lobby, past all those staring eyes, toward a door marked security personnel only. Every step felt like walking through thick mud. Cairo kept his head up, trying to hold on to whatever dignity he had left. But inside, he felt smaller than he'd ever felt in his life. The security office was small and cold, all concrete walls and fluorescent lights that buzzed and flickered. There was a metal desk, a few plastic chairs, a computer monitor showing camera feeds from around the building. "Sit," Marcus said, pointing to one of the chairs. Cairo sat. The plastic was hard and cold beneath him. Dean stood by the door, arms crossed. Marcus stayed close, still holding the wallet and the Shoeshine box. Nobody said anything. The silence was worse than the accusations. Cairo could hear his own breathing too fast, too loud. He could hear the buzz of the fluorescent lights. He could hear the distant sound of the lobby beyond the door. He looked down at his hands. They were shaking, dirty fingernails, rough skin, a small cut on his thumb from where he'd caught it on a rusty nail last week. His mother used to make him wash his hands before dinner, even when they barely had any food. "Clean hands, clean heart," she'd say, scrubbing his palms with soap that smelled like lemons. What would she think of him now? Sitting in a security office, being treated like a thief. She wouldn't be ashamed of him, he realized. She'd be ashamed of them. The door opened. Adrian Hale stepped inside. He was still wearing that long black coat. His silver hair was slightly disheveled, like he'd been running his hands through it. His face was hard, unreadable. His eyes found Cairo immediately. Cairo saw something flicker in them, some kind of recognition, but it was gone too fast to understand. Then Adrian's eyes moved to Marcus, to the wallet in his hand. "That's mine," Adrian said. His voice was the same as this morning, flat, empty. "Yes, sir," Marcus said. He held out the wallet. "The boy says he found it at a cafe. Brought it here to return it to you." Adrian took the wallet. He opened it slowly, methodically. His fingers moved through the contents, checking the credit cards, counting the cash. His eyes stopped on something in the back section, the photograph, Cairo realized. Adrian was looking at the photograph. Something changed in his face, just for a second, a tightness around his eyes, a slight tension in his jaw. Then it was gone. "It's all here," Adrian said quietly. "Nothing missing." The room went very still. Cairo felt something loosen in his chest, relief maybe, or vindication. Marcus and Dean exchanged a glance. The door opened again and Cecilia appeared, slightly out of breath, like she'd hurried down the stairs instead of taking the elevator. "Mr. Hale," she said, "I'm so sorry about this incident. We can call the police if you'd like, have them check if he's wanted for anything. Make sure he doesn't try this again with someone else." Adrian looked at her for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was different, still quiet but with an edge to it now, sharp enough to cut. "He returned my wallet," Adrian said, "with everything in it, every dollar, every card, and your response was to treat him like a criminal." Cecilia's mouth opened slightly. "Sir, we were just being cautious, given his appearance." "His appearance." Adrian's eyes were cold now, ice cold. "I see." He turned to Marcus and Dean. "Did he resist when you detained him? Cause any trouble?" "No, sir," Marcus said. He looked uncomfortable now, shifting his weight from one foot to the other. "He was cooperative the whole time." "Did he ask for a reward, try to negotiate, make any demands?" "No, sir." "Did he try to run when you approached him?" "No, sir." Adrian looked at Cairo, really looked at him, at the torn jacket with the broken zipper, at the mismatched shoes, one too big, one too small, at the Shoeshine box sitting on the floor, old and worn but cared for, at Cairo's face, young but aged by hardship, trying so hard to be brave. "What's your name?" Adrian asked. "Cairo," he said quietly. His voice came out rough. "Cairo, sir." "Cairo." Adrian nodded slowly. He looked back at Cecilia. This boy walked here in the freezing cold to return something that didn't belong to him. Something that had enough money in it to change his life, at least temporarily. He could have kept it, could have disappeared. "I never would have known who took it." He paused, letting that sink in. But he didn't. He chose to do the right thing. And when he got here he was humiliated, searched, detained, treated like he was worthless. Adrian's voice got quieter, but somehow more intense. "He showed more integrity in one act than most people show in a lifetime. And you accused him of being a thief." Cecilia's face had gone red. "Mr. Hale, I was only trying to protect." "I don't want to hear it," Adrian interrupted. His eyes moved to Marcus and Dean. "Let him go." Dean stepped away from the door immediately. Cairo stood up slowly. His legs felt shaky. He picked up his Shoeshine box, holding it against his chest like a shield. He wanted to say something. Thank you, maybe, or that it was okay. He understood why they'd been suspicious. But his throat felt too tight. His eyes burned with tears he refused to let fall. He just walked to the door. "Cairo," Adrian said. Cairo stopped, turned. Adrian had taken out his wallet, was pulling out bills. 2 20s, he held them out. "For your trouble," Adrian said. Cairo looked at the money. $40. More than he'd make in a week of shining shoes. Enough to eat well for days. But something in him said no, firmly, clearly. He'd done the right thing because it was right. Not for a reward. Taking money for it would make it something else. Something less. "No thank you, sir," Cairo said softly. "I just wanted to return what was yours." He saw surprise flash across Adrian's face. Real surprise, the first genuine expression Cairo had seen from him. Then Cairo turned and walked out of the security office. He crossed the lobby again, past the same people, the same stairs. But he held his head up this time. He hadn't done anything wrong. He knew that now, even if they didn't, The doorman held the door open for him without a word. Cairo stepped out into the cold. The wind hit his face and the tears came then, hot and angry and ashamed all at once. He wiped them away quickly, before anyone could see. He'd done the right thing. So why did he feel worse than ever? His heel throbbed where the blister had formed. His stomach ached with hunger. The cold cut through his thin jacket like it was nothing. He started walking south, back toward Southridge, toward the parts of the city where people like him belonged. He'd walked maybe 3 blocks when he heard footsteps behind him, quick and purposeful. He turned. Adrian Hale was there, still wearing that expensive black coat, slightly out of breath like he'd been running. They stared at each other for a moment. "I need to talk to you," Adrian said. Cairo didn't know what to say. The man who'd looked through him this morning, who just defended him in front of his employees, was standing on a street corner looking at him like he mattered. "About what?" Cairo asked. His voice came out defensive, wary. "Not here," Adrian said. He looked around at the people passing by, then back at Cairo. "There's a diner 2 blocks from here. Have you eaten today?" Cairo's stomach chose that moment to growl, loud enough for both of them to hear. "I'll take that as a no," Adrian said. "Come on." He started walking and Cairo followed, not quite sure why. Maybe because the man had stood up for him. Maybe because his stomach hurt so bad. Maybe because there was something in Adrian's voice that sounded almost lost. The diner was small and warm, booths with red vinyl seats and a long counter with spinning stools. It smelled like coffee and bacon and home cooking. Cairo's mouth watered immediately. Adrian led them to a booth in the back, away from the windows. A waitress came over, middle-aged woman with kind eyes and a coffee pot in her hand. "What can I get you boys?" she asked. "Coffee for me," Adrian said. "And whatever he wants." The waitress looked at Cairo. Cairo looked at the menu on the table, laminated and sticky with age. Everything looked good. Everything was more than he usually let himself think about. "The breakfast special," he said quietly. "Please, eggs, bacon, toast, hash browns." The waitress recited. "How do you like your eggs?" "Scrambled, thank you." She smiled at him, a real smile, and walked away. Cairo and Adrian sat in silence for a moment. Outside the window, people hurried past in the cold. Inside it was warm and safe. "Why did you really return my wallet?" Adrian asked suddenly. Cairo looked up at him. "I told you, it was the right thing to do, but you needed that money. Anyone can see that. Needing something doesn't make it okay to take it. Most people wouldn't see it that way." Cairo shrugged. "My mama taught me different." "Your mother," Adrian said. "Where is she?" "Dead. 3 years ago." "I'm sorry." Cairo nodded. He'd heard those words a lot. They never made it hurt less. "And your father?" "Never knew him. Mama said he left before I was born." "So you're alone?" It wasn't a question, but Cairo answered anyway. "Yeah." The waitress brought Adrian's coffee and a glass of orange juice for Cairo. He hadn't ordered it, but she set it down with a wink. "On the house, honey." Cairo drank it slowly, savoring every sweet cold sip. He couldn't remember the last time he'd had orange juice. "Why did you defend me?" Cairo asked. "Back at your building, you could have just taken the wallet, and let them think whatever they wanted." Adrian was quiet for a long moment, staring into his coffee cup. "Because I know what it's like," he said finally. "To be looked at like you're nothing. To be judged before anyone knows who you are." "You?" Cairo couldn't keep the disbelief out of his voice. "You're rich. You own that whole building." "Now yes, but I grew up poor, poorer than you'd believe." Adrian looked up, met Cairo's eyes. "I sold newspapers on street corners when I was your age. Wore clothes from thrift stores that never quite fit. Teachers thought I was stupid because I was poor. Store owners followed me around because they assumed I'd steal." Cairo stared at him. It was hard to imagine this man, with his expensive coat and his building full of marble and crystal, ever being poor. "What changed?" Cairo asked. "Hard work, luck, a teacher who saw something in me, and helped me apply for scholarships." Adrian paused. "And somewhere along the way, I forgot what it was like. I became the kind of person who looks through kids asking to shine shoes, who doesn't see them as human, just as obstacles in my way." "You had a bad morning," Cairo said. "Everyone has bad days." "I've had a bad 10 years, Adrian said quietly. The waitress brought Cairo's food, A plate piled high with fluffy scrambled eggs, crispy bacon, golden hash browns, and wheat toast with butter and jam. It looked like the most beautiful thing Cairo had ever seen. "Eat," Adrian said. Cairo wanted to eat slowly, to make it last, but once he started he couldn't stop. He was so hungry. The eggs were perfectly cooked, seasoned with salt and pepper. The bacon was crispy and salty. The hash browns were hot and filling. Adrian watched him eat, something sad in his eyes. When Cairo had finished half the plate, he forced himself to slow down. His mother's voice in his head, "Don't eat so fast, you make yourself sick, baby." "Can I ask you something?" Cairo said. "Go ahead." "The picture in your wallet, the woman and the little girl, who are they?" Adrian's face went very still. For a moment Cairo thought he wouldn't answer. "My wife Alara," Adrian said finally, "and my daughter Aria, they died 10 years ago. Car accident." Cairo set down his fork. "I'm sorry." "Me too." They sat in silence for a while. Cairo ate more slowly now, thinking about that photograph, about the way Adrian had looked this morning, so empty and cold, about how losing the people you love changes you into someone you don't recognize. "That's why I returned it," Cairo said quietly. "The wallet. When I saw that picture, I knew you'd lost someone, like I lost my mama." He looked up at Adrian. "I couldn't keep it, because if someone had something of my mama's, something I needed back, I'd hope they'd return it." Adrian's eyes were bright suddenly. He blinked hard, looked away. "Your mother raised a good son," he said, his voice rough. "She tried." They sat there in the warm diner, two people who'd lost everything, sharing a meal and a moment of understanding. When Cairo had finished eating, Adrian paid the bill and left a generous tip. They walked back out into the cold. "Where do you live?" Adrian asked. Cairo hesitated. "Different places." "You're homeless." "I'm careful." "That's not the same thing." Adrian was quiet for a moment. "Look, I know you don't know me, and you have no reason to trust me, but I'd like to help you." "I don't need charity," Cairo said, defensive again. "It's not charity. You did something for me today, something important. Let me do something for you." "Like what?" "I have an apartment, too big for one person. There's a spare room. You could stay there, get cleaned up, get some real rest, and then we can figure out what comes next." Cairo stared at him. "Why would you do that?" "Because someone helped me once when I needed it, and because," Adrian looked down at his hands, "because I've spent 10 years just existing, going through the motions, not really living. And today you reminded me what it means to be human, to do the right thing even when it costs you something." "I don't know," Cairo said. People had offered him things before. It always came with strings attached. "Think about it," Adrian said. "I'm not going to force you, but the offer stands." He pulled out his wallet, took out a business card, wrote something on the back. "That's my personal cell number, and my address. If you change your mind, call, or just show up." He held out the card. Cairo took it slowly, looked at the address. "Riverside Drive, the rich part of town." "I have to go," Adrian said. "I have meetings this afternoon." "But Cairo, whatever you decide, thank you for returning my wallet, for reminding me what integrity looks like." He turned and walked away, disappearing into the crowd of people on the sidewalk. Cairo stood there holding the business card, his mind spinning. A warm bed, a safe place. It sounded too good to be true. And in Cairo's experience, things that sounded too good to be true usually were. He put the card in his pocket, and started walking south, back to Southridge, back to the life he knew. That night Cairo found his usual spot behind the old laundromat on 6th Street. The heat vent blew warm air from inside, taking the edge off the freezing temperature. Someone had left a piece of cardboard there. He sat down on it, setting his Shoeshine box beside him. His stomach was full for the first time in days. The breakfast from the diner had been enough. But now as night fell and the temperature dropped, he was cold, so cold. He pulled his thin jacket tighter, but it didn't help. The wind found every gap, every tear. He thought about the business card in his pocket, about Adrian's offer, a warm bed, a safe place. But he'd learned not to trust offers like that. People wanted things. They always wanted something. He tried to sleep but couldn't. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the faces in that lobby, the disgust, the fear, the way they'd looked at him like he was garbage. He saw Cecilia's hand reaching for that button under her desk, saw the guards moving toward him, felt the humiliation of being searched, detained, accused. And then he saw Adrian's face when he defended him, the anger in his voice when he confronted Cecilia, the sadness in his eyes when he talked about his wife and daughter. Cairo pulled out the business card, looked at it in the dim light from the street lamp. Adrian Hale had been poor once, had been looked at the way Cairo was looked at, had survived it, overcome it, become successful. And then he'd lost everything that mattered. Maybe, Cairo thought, they weren't so different. He put the card back in his pocket, and tried again to sleep. Somewhere around midnight, he heard voices, loud, angry. He opened his eyes to see 3 teenage boys approaching, probably 17 or 18, street kids. He recognized one of them, a tall kid with a shaved head, who sometimes hung around the liquor store on 5th. Well, the tall one said, grinning. Look what we got here, little Cairo, all alone. Cairo stood up slowly, his heart starting to pound. I don't want any trouble. Nobody's offering trouble, just want to talk. The boy moved closer. Word is you came into some money today. Saw you walking around downtown, looking comfortable. I don't have any money. That's not what I heard. Heard you found some rich guy's wallet. Bet there was a nice reward in that. There wasn't. I just returned it and left. The other 2 boys had spread out flanking him. Cairo was trapped against the wall. See, I don't believe you, the tall boy said. Nobody walks all the way downtown in the cold just to return a wallet, not without getting something out of it. I didn't get anything. Then you're even stupider than you look. He reached out, grabbed Cairo's jacket. But I think you're lying. I think you got paid, and I think you're gonna share. Let go of me. Cairo tried to pull away. The boy shoved him hard against the wall. Make me. Cairo's head hit the brick. Stars exploded across his vision. Check his pockets, the tall boy said to the others. Rough hands grabbed at Cairo, searching. He tried to fight back, but there were 3 of them. They found the $6 from his Shoeshine that morning. Took it. This is it, one of them said. $6. There's gotta be more. They kept searching. One of them found the business card, pulled it out. What's this? Adrian Hale. He read it out loud, then laughed. You got the rich man's phone number. Maybe we should give him a call. Ask for a reward for finding his little charity case. Give it back, Cairo said. Or what? Something in Cairo snapped. He lunged forward, trying to grab the card. The tall boy hit him hard, across the face. Cairo went down, tasting blood. Stay down, the boy said. He crumpled up the business card and threw it at Cairo. Worthless piece of trash. They left laughing, with Cairo's $6 and whatever shred of dignity he had left. Cairo lay there on the cold concrete, his face throbbing, his head spinning. He touched his lip, felt it swelling. His eye was going to be black by morning. He found the crumpled business card, smoothed it out carefully. The writing was smudged, but still readable. Adrian's address, his phone number. Cairo sat there in the cold and the dark, holding that card, and he made a decision. Maybe trusting someone was risky. Maybe it would end badly, but staying here living like this, getting beat up for $6 by kids who saw him as an easy target, that wasn't living. That was just surviving. And he was tired of just surviving. He stood up, wincing at the pain in his ribs where one of them had kicked him. He picked up his Shoeshine box, his mother's box, and started walking. It took him almost an hour to walk to Riverside Drive. His face hurt, his ribs hurt, his feet hurt, but he kept walking. The buildings got nicer as he went north, cleaner, newer, more doormen, more security. He found Adrian's building, a tall modern structure with a glass facade, and a lobby he could see through the windows. Warm light, plants, a fountain. He stood outside for a long time, trying to work up the courage to go in. What if Adrian had changed his mind? What if he called the police instead? What if this was all some kind of cruel joke? But then he thought about sleeping behind that laundromat again, about those boys coming back, about another winter night in the cold. He walked up to the door. The doorman was younger than the one at Hale Tower, maybe 30. He saw Cairo approaching and came outside. "Can I help you?" he asked. Not hostile, but cautious. "I'm here to see Adrian Hale," Cairo said. "He gave me his address, told me I could dial." He trailed off, suddenly feeling stupid. This was a mistake. "Name?" the doorman asked. "Cairo." The doorman looked at him more carefully now, taking in the swollen lip, the eye that was starting to bruise. "Wait here." He went inside, picked up a phone, spoke quietly into it. A minute later he came back out. "Mr. Hale says to send you right up. 15th floor, unit 1503. The lobby was warm and clean, nothing like Hale Tower's imposing marble and crystal, but nice, comfortable. The elevator had mirrors and soft lighting. Cairo looked at his reflection. He looked terrible, dirty and beaten and small. The elevator reached the 15th floor with a soft chime. Unit 1503 was at the end of the hall. Cairo stood in front of the door for a moment, his hand raised to knock, his heart pounding. Before he could knock, the door opened. Adrian stood there, wearing slacks and a button-down shirt with the sleeves rolled up. No coat, no tie. He looked different, more human. Then he saw Cairo's face. "What happened?" Adrian's voice was sharp, concerned. Some kids, they wanted money. I didn't have any, but they." Cairo touched his swollen lip. "It's not that bad." Adrian stepped back. "Come inside." Cairo walked into the apartment. It was big, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, hardwood floors, modern furniture, everything clean and ordered and expensive, and completely empty of life. No photographs on the walls, no personal items lying around, no clutter. It looked like a hotel suite, not a home. "Sit," Adrian said, gesturing to a leather couch. Cairo sat down slowly, setting his shoeshine box carefully on the floor beside him. The leather was soft, expensive. He was afraid he'd get it dirty. Adrian disappeared into another room, and came back with a first aid kit. He sat beside Cairo and opened it. "This might sting," he said, pressing a cotton ball soaked in antiseptic to Cairo's split lip. It did sting, but Cairo didn't make a sound. "Did they take anything?" Adrian asked as he worked. $6, that's all I had." Adrian's jaw tightened, but he didn't say anything. He finished cleaning the cut, checked Cairo's eye. "You'll have a black eye tomorrow, but it should heal fine." He closed the first aid kit. "Have you eaten since the diner?" "No, sir." "Stop calling me sir. It's Adrian." He stood up. "Come on." He led Cairo to a kitchen that looked like something from a magazine. All stainless steel and granite countertops. Adrian opened the refrigerator. "I don't have much. I usually eat out or order in." He pulled out some cold cuts, cheese, bread. "Sandwich okay?" "Yeah, thank you." Adrian made 2 sandwiches while Cairo sat at the kitchen island, looking around. Everything was so clean, so perfect, so lonely. They ate in silence for a while. "Why did you come?" Adrian asked finally. Cairo thought about that, about the cold, about those boys, about being tired of surviving instead of living. "Because you offered," he said, "and because I think you meant it." "I did mean it. Most people don't mean it. I mean, they say things, make offers, but there's always a catch, always something they want. And you think I want something." Cairo looked at him directly. "I don't know. Do you?" Adrian was quiet for a long moment. "Honestly, I don't know. Maybe I want to stop feeling so empty. Maybe I want to do something that matters. Maybe I just want to help a kid who showed me more integrity than I've seen in years." He paused. "But I'm not going to lie to you or use you. If you stay here it's because you want to. No strings, no obligations. Why should I believe you? Because I've got nothing to gain by lying. I have money, I have success, I have everything I thought I wanted, and I'm miserable." Adrian looked out the window at the city lights. "You want to know the truth? I've been thinking about you all day. About how you chose to do the right thing, even though it cost you. About how everyone treated you like garbage for it. And I thought, maybe if I can help you, maybe that means something. Maybe that makes any of this worth it. Cairo studied his face, looking for signs of deception, of hidden motives. But all he saw was honesty and loneliness. Okay, Cairo said quietly. I'll stay, for now, but if it gets weird, I'm leaving. Adrian nodded. That's fair, more than fair. He showed Cairo to the spare bedroom. It had a real bed with a thick comforter, a desk, a bookshelf, its own bathroom with a shower and clean towels. There are some old clothes in the closet, Adrian said. From before. They might fit you. We'll get you your own things tomorrow. He left, closing the door quietly. Cairo stood in the middle of the room, not quite believing it was real. He walked to the bed, touched the comforter, soft, warm. He went to the bathroom, turned on the shower. Hot water came out immediately. He stood under it for a long time, watching the dirt and blood wash away, feeling warmth seep into his bones for the first time in years. When he finally got out, he found a bathrobe hanging on the back of the door, too big for him, but clean and soft. He wrapped himself in it. In the closet, he found clothes like Adrian had said, small sizes, children's clothes. They must have belonged to his daughter, Aria. Cairo touched a small pink sweater, soft and carefully folded. He couldn't imagine what it must have cost Adrian to keep these clothes, to look at them every day, to be reminded of what he'd lost. He chose a pair of sweatpants and a t-shirt, both too big but clean. When he came out of the bathroom, he found Adrian standing in the doorway. Those were Aria's, Adrian said quietly. My daughters. I couldn't get rid of them. I can wear something else. No, she would have liked you. She would have wanted her things to be useful. Adrian's voice was rough with emotion. Get some sleep. We have a lot to figure out tomorrow. That night, for the first time in 3 years, Cairo slept in a real bed. Warm, safe, full. And for the first time in 10 years, Adrian felt like maybe, just maybe, he was doing something that mattered. The next few days were strange. Good strange, but strange. Adrian made breakfast. They ate together. Then Adrian would go to work and Cairo would stay in the apartment, still not quite believing it was real. He took long showers, ate real meals, slept in a real bed. On the third day, Adrian took him shopping. Real clothes that fit, shoes that matched, a winter coat that was actually warm. Cairo felt guilty about the cost, but Adrian waved it off. It's nothing, he said. Trust me. They also went to a doctor, Adrian insisted. The doctor checked Cairo's bruises, his overall health, asked questions about when he'd last had a checkup. He's malnourished, the doctor told Adrian privately, but Cairo heard anyway. And he's got some dental issues that need addressing. But overall, considering what he's been through, he's remarkably healthy. Adrian started looking into schools, made phone calls, set up meetings. There's a good school about 15 blocks from here, he told Cairo one evening, over dinner. They have an opening in the 7th grade. I was thinking maybe January, after winter break. That gives us a few weeks to get you ready. Cairo's fork stopped halfway to his mouth. School. You're 12. You should be in school. I haven't been in 3 years. I'll be so far behind. We'll get you a tutor. You'll catch up. You're smart, Cairo. How do you know? Because you had the intelligence to return a wallet worth $800 when you were starving. That takes more than street smarts. That takes real intelligence. Cairo looked down at his plate. What if the other kids make fun of me? Some probably will. Kids can be cruel, but some will be kind. And you're stronger than you think. On the 4th day, Adrian had to go into the office for an important meeting. He asked if Cairo wanted to come along or stay at the apartment. I'll come, Cairo said. He didn't like being alone. The apartment was nice, but it was also very quiet, too quiet. They took a taxi to Hale Tower. Cairo was nervous about going back inside, but Adrian kept a hand on his shoulder, steady and reassuring. Cecilia looked up when they entered.
Her expression changed when she saw Cairo, surprise and then something else, embarrassment maybe. She'd sent flowers to Adrian's office with an apology, he'd told Cairo, but seeing Cairo in person, clean and cared for, seemed to hit her differently. "Good morning, Mr. Hale," she said. Then to Cairo, "Good morning." Cairo nodded, but didn't say anything. He wasn't ready to forgive her yet. Maybe he never would be. Adrian's meeting was on the 20th floor. He brought Cairo to a waiting area with comfortable chairs and magazines. "I'll be about an hour," Adrian said. "Will you be okay here?" "Yeah, I'm good." Adrian went into the conference room.
Cairo sat in one of the chairs, picked up a magazine. Business something. He didn't understand most of it, but he flipped through the pages anyway. After about 30 minutes he got restless. He stood up, walked to the window. From here he could see the whole city spreading out below. Somewhere down there was the laundromat where he used to sleep, the cafe where he'd found the wallet, the streets he'd walked cold and hungry and alone. It felt like a lifetime ago, like it had happened to someone else. "Cairo," he turned to see a young woman, maybe 25, wearing a business suit and carrying a stack of folders. "Mr. Hale asked me to check on you, see if you needed anything. Water? Soda? I'm okay, thank you." She smiled and walked away. Cairo went back to looking out the window. He thought about his mother, what she would think of all this. Of him living in a nice apartment, wearing new clothes, about to go back to school. She'd be happy, he thought. Proud of him for doing the right thing, for taking a chance on trusting someone. He felt a wave of missing her so strong it almost knocked him over. He wished she could see this, wished she could meet Adrian, wished she was here to tell him it was okay to be happy, that he didn't have to feel guilty for having a warm bed when she was gone. He wiped his eyes quickly before anyone could see. The waiting area door opened and Adrian came out, earlier than expected. He looked stressed, his tie loosened. "Ready to go?" he asked. "The meeting's over, I ended it early, wasn't important." He looked at Cairo more carefully. "You okay?" "Yeah, just thinking about my mama." Adrian nodded. "Come on, let's get out of here." They took the elevator down to the lobby. As they crossed toward the exit, Cairo heard his name being called. "Cairo, hey Cairo." He turned to see Marcus, one of the security guards from that first day. Marcus was smiling, walking toward them. Cairo tensed, remembering being searched, detained. But Marcus held out his hand for a handshake. "I wanted to apologize," Marcus said, "for how we treated you that day. It was wrong. We should have listened instead of assuming." Cairo shook his hand slowly. "It's okay." "No, it's not. But thank you for saying that." Marcus looked at Adrian. "You did good, Mr. Hale, taking care of this young man." "He took care of me first," Adrian said. They walked out into the cold afternoon. The sun was setting early, the way it does in winter. The sky was orange and pink. "You hungry?" Adrian asked. "Always," Cairo admitted. They went to a small Italian restaurant, warm and cozy with checkered tablecloths and candles on the tables. They ordered pasta and breadsticks and talked about nothing important. School, the weather, what movies Cairo liked, normal things, family things. When they got home, Cairo went to his room to do some reading. The tutor Adrian had hired had given him books to catch up on. Math workbooks, history textbooks. He was working through a math problem when he heard voices in the living room. He opened his door slightly, listened. Adrian was on the phone. "I know it's unusual. Yes, I understand the concerns. He's a good kid, Tom. Better than most adults I know. I'm not asking for special treatment. I'm asking for a chance. Thank you. I appreciate it." He hung up. Cairo came out of his room. "Was that about school?" Adrian turned, startled. "Yeah. The principal wanted to make sure I understood what I was taking on. Foster care, legal guardianship, all of it. And I told him I understood perfectly." Adrian looked at Cairo. "This is what you want, right? To go back to school, to have some stability." "Yeah," Cairo said. "I think so. I'm scared, but yeah. Being scared is okay. It means you care about getting it right." They stood there in the quiet apartment, two people who'd found each other by accident, by chance, by a lost wallet and a choice to do the right thing. "Adrian," Cairo said. "Yeah, thank you, for all of this, for believing me, for helping me. You already thanked me, by returning my wallet, by showing me what integrity looks like." "I know, but Cairo," Adrian's voice was gentle. You don't have to keep thanking me. This is what family does. They help each other. Family. The word hung in the air between them. Cairo felt his throat tighten. Is that what we are? Adrian was quiet for a moment. I don't know what we are yet, but I'd like to find out. Cairo nodded. He couldn't speak past the lump in his throat. That night, lying in his warm bed, he thought about families. How they come in all shapes. How sometimes you lose the one you're born into and find a different one. How love doesn't always look the way you expect it to. He thought about his mother and how much he missed her. And he thought about Adrian, alone in his room down the hall, missing his wife and daughter. Two people carrying grief. Two people trying to figure out how to keep living. Maybe, Cairo thought as he drifted off to sleep, maybe that was enough. Maybe that was where families started. In the shared understanding that life can be brutal and beautiful at the same time. And that having someone to go through it with makes all the difference. 5 days after Cairo returned the wallet, Adrian had to go into the office early for a board meeting. He left before Cairo woke up, but there was a note on the kitchen counter. Cereal in the cupboard, milk in the fridge. I'll be home by 3. Call if you need anything. Cairo ate breakfast slowly, still not quite used to having food whenever he wanted it. After he settled on the couch with one of his school books, working through a history chapter about the Great Depression. He was reading about people living in shacks, standing in bread lines when the apartment buzzer rang. Cairo jumped. Nobody ever buzzed the apartment. He went to the intercom by the door. Hello? Delivery for Adrian Hale, a voice said through the speaker. He's not here right now. Can you sign for it? It's from Hale and Company, important documents. Cairo hesitated. I guess. Great. I'll be right up. A minute later there was a knock on the door. Cairo looked through the peephole and saw a young guy in a uniform holding a large envelope. He opened the door. The delivery guy held out an electronic signature pad. Just sign here. Cairo signed with his finger the way the guy showed him. The delivery guy handed over the envelope and left. Cairo set the envelope on the kitchen counter where Adrian would see it when he got home. He went back to his reading, but he couldn't concentrate. He kept thinking about school starting in a few weeks, about all the things he didn't know, about how far behind he'd be. Around noon, the apartment phone rang. Cairo let it go to voicemail. Adrian's voice came through the speaker. Cairo, if you're there, pick up. It's important. Cairo grabbed the phone. Hello? Good. Listen, I need you to do something for me. There should be a document delivery that came this morning. I need you to open it and read me the first page. It's here. It came about an hour ago. Great. Can you open it and tell me what it says at the top? Cairo opened the envelope, pulled out a thick stack of papers. The first page had a lot of legal language he didn't understand. It says petition for guardianship. Cairo read slowly, and then a bunch of case numbers and stuff. There was a pause on the other end of the line. Adrian, Cairo asked. I'm here. Sorry, I should have talked to you about this first. Adrian's voice sounded strange, nervous. Those are guardianship papers, legal documents that would make me your official guardian. Give me the legal right to make decisions for you, enroll you in school, take you to doctors, all of that. Cairo's heart started beating faster. Like adoption. Not exactly. Adoption is permanent. Guardianship is more temporary. It can be reversed if circumstances change. I thought it might be less scary for you, less pressure. But why do you need it? Because right now legally you're a runaway. If anyone finds out you're here, they could take you back to foster care, or put you in a group home. But if I'm your legal guardian, you're protected. You can stay here, go to school, have a real chance. Cairo sat down on the couch, the papers in his hand. And you want to do that, only if you want me to. That's why I had them draw up the papers, so you could think about it, decide if this is what you want. Adrian paused. I know I'm not your father, I know I can't replace your mother, but I can give you stability, safety, a chance at a real future. Cairo looked around the apartment, at the warm, safe space that had become home in less than a week, at the books on the table, the coat hanging by the door, the evidence of someone caring about him. What do I have to do? He asked quietly. Just think about it. No rush, no pressure. We can talk about it more when I get home. Adrian's voice softened. Whatever you decide, you can stay here. That doesn't change. This is your home now, papers or not. They talked for a few more minutes, then hung up. Cairo sat on the couch for a long time, holding those papers, thinking about what they meant. His mother was gone, she wasn't coming back. No legal document would change that. But maybe, just maybe, he didn't have to be alone forever. When Adrian came home that afternoon, Cairo was waiting in the living room. "We should talk," Cairo said. They sat on the couch together, the guardianship papers on the coffee table between them. "I want to tell you about my mama," Cairo said. "If that's okay, of course." So Cairo told him about Malia, who worked 3 jobs and still found time to help him with homework. About how she sang while she cleaned, terrible off-key singing that made Cairo laugh. About how she saved up for months to buy him a bicycle for his birthday, and how he'd cried, because he knew she needed that money for bills. About how she collapsed at work one day, a stroke, and how Cairo had sat in the hospital holding her hand while she slipped away. "She made me promise something," Cairo said, his voice breaking. "Right at the end, she made me promise I'd keep going, that I'd finish school, that I'd make something of myself." He wiped his eyes. "I broke that promise. When they put me in that group home and I ran away, I broke it." "You survived," Adrian said gently. "That's not breaking a promise. That's honoring her memory by refusing to give up." "But I'm not in school. I'm not making anything of myself. Yet." "You're not doing those things yet, but you could be, if you want to." Cairo looked at the papers on the table. "If you become my guardian, you could make me go to school, make me do things I don't want to." "I could," Adrian agreed. "But I won't. I'll encourage you, I'll support you. But your life is your own, Cairo. These papers don't change that." "Then why do you want them?" Adrian was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was rough with emotion. "Because I've spent 10 years feeling dead inside, going through the motions, building a company that doesn't mean anything, making money I don't need, living in an empty apartment that's more like a tomb than a home." He looked at Cairo. "And then you walked into my building, scared and alone, trying to do the right thing. And something woke up inside me, something I thought was gone forever." "What?" "Hope, purpose, the feeling that maybe my life still matters, that maybe I can still do something good in this world." Adrian's eyes were bright with tears he was trying not to shed. "I can't bring my wife and daughter back, but I can help you. And maybe that's what Alara would have wanted. Maybe that's what Arya would have wanted. For me to keep living, to keep caring, to not give up." Cairo understood. He understood perfectly. "Okay," he said quietly. "Okay, I'll sign the papers. You can be my guardian." Cairo looked up at Adrian. "But I need you to promise me something. Anything. Promise you won't give up on me, even when I mess up, even when things get hard. Promise you'll keep trying." "I promise," Adrian said immediately. "I swear to you, Cairo, I won't give up on you." They sat there in the quiet apartment, 2 broken people trying to put each other back together. Adrian pulled out a pen. "We both need to sign. And then we'll need to file these with the court. There'll be a hearing, probably. Social workers will want to interview us. Make sure this is a good situation for you. What if they say no?" "They won't. I'll make sure of that." They signed the papers together, their signatures side by side on the dotted lines. When they were done, Cairo felt different, lighter, somehow, like something heavy he'd been carrying had finally been set down. "So what happens now?" he asked. "Now we have dinner, and then tomorrow we keep moving forward, one day at a time." That night, after Cairo had gone to bed, Adrian stood in his living room looking at the city lights. He picked up his phone and dialed a number he hadn't called in years. "Tom, it's Adrian. I know it's late. I'm sorry. I need to ask you something. That opening in the 7th grade you mentioned." "Yes, I'm sure, January 2nd. He'll be ready. Thank you so much." When he hung up, he walked to Cairo's door, opened it quietly. The boy was asleep, curled up under the thick comforter, peaceful in a way Adrian had never seen in those first few days. "I won't let you down," Adrian whispered. "I promise." He closed the door and went to his own room, where photographs of Alara and Arya sat on his nightstand. "I think you'd like him," he told them quietly. "I think you'd be proud.
For the first time in 10 years he didn't cry when he looked at their pictures, he smiled. The weeks before school started flew by. There were meetings with social workers who interviewed both Adrian and Cairo separately. There were appointments with the school principal and counselors. There was paperwork, so much paperwork. But there was also laughter, movie nights, dinners together, long conversations about everything and nothing. Adrian taught Cairo about finance and business. Cairo taught Adrian about the streets, about survival, about seeing people instead of just looking through them. They learned each other's rhythms. Adrian liked his coffee black. Cairo liked hot chocolate with too many marshmallows. Adrian was a morning person. Cairo liked to stay up late reading. Adrian told Cairo about Alara and Aria. Not just the sad parts, but the good parts too. The time Aria tried to bake cookies and set off the smoke alarm. The time Alara organized a surprise party for Adrian's 40th birthday and accidentally locked herself out of their apartment. Cairo told Adrian about his mother's terrible jokes, her habit of dancing while cooking, the way she'd saved every drawing he'd ever made and kept them in a special box. They grieved together, healed together. The night before school started, Cairo couldn't sleep. He lay in bed staring at the ceiling, terrified. There was a soft knock on his door. "Can't sleep either?" Adrian asked. "No, mind if I come in?" "Okay." Adrian sat on the edge of the bed. "Want to know a secret?" "Sure." "The day I started Harvard, I was convinced I'd fail. I was this poor kid from the bad side of town. Everyone else seemed so smart, so prepared, so sure of themselves. I almost didn't go, almost got on a bus and went back home. What stopped you?" "My mother. She told me that being scared meant I cared, that only stupid people are never afraid." Adrian smiled. "She said courage isn't the absence of fear, it's doing the right thing even when you're terrified. Your mama was smart, yours too." They sat in comfortable silence for a while. "What if nobody likes me?" Cairo asked. "Some people won't. That's life. But some people will. Focus on those. What if I'm too far behind? Then you'll work hard and catch up. You're smart, Cairo, smarter than you give yourself credit for. What if I fail? Then you'll try again. Failure isn't the end, giving up is." Cairo thought about that. "Did you ever fail at anything?" "Plenty of times. Failed my first business venture. Lost everything. Had to start over." Adrian looked down at his hands. "I failed at saving my wife and daughter, failed at being happy for 10 years, failed at seeing you that first morning when you asked to shine my shoes. You're seeing me now." "Yeah, I am." They talked for another hour about fears and hopes and the future. By the time Adrian left, Cairo felt calmer, still scared but ready. The next morning, Adrian made a big breakfast. Pancakes, eggs, bacon, more food than 2 people could eat. "For luck," he explained. They got dressed. Cairo in his new clothes, backpack full of notebooks and pens. Adrian in one of his suits. "You don't have to walk me," Cairo said at the door. "I know, but I want to." They walked to school together through the cold January morning. The building was brick and concrete 3 stories high, with kids streaming through the front entrance. At the steps Cairo stopped. "What if no more what ifs?" Adrian said gently. "You've got this." Cairo nodded. He started up the steps then turned back. "Adrian, yeah, thank you, for everything." Adrian's eyes were bright. "Go learn something." Cairo went inside, disappearing into the crowd of students. Adrian stood there for a moment, then walked to his office. He had meetings all day but his mind kept drifting to Cairo, wondering if he was okay, if the other kids were nice, if the teachers were good. At 3:15 exactly, Adrian was back at the school, waiting. The doors opened and kids poured out. Adrian scanned the crowd, looking for Cairo. Then he saw him. Cairo was talking to another boy, both of them laughing about something. When Cairo spotted Adrian, he waved goodbye to the other kid and jogged over. "How was it?" Adrian asked, trying to keep his voice casual even though he desperately wanted to know everything. "Good." Cairo was smiling, a real smile that reached his eyes. "Really good. My math teacher said I'm actually ahead in some stuff. And this kid Marcus, he asked if I wanted to play basketball at lunch tomorrow. And my English teacher said she liked my essay about. He kept talking the whole walk home, words tumbling out in an excited rush. Adrian listened to every word, his heart full in a way it hadn't been in years. That evening they celebrated with pizza and ice cream. Cairo told Adrian about every class, every teacher, every kid he'd met. There's this girl Sophia, Cairo said. She sits behind me in history. She shared her notes with me when I couldn't keep up with everything the teacher was saying. She was really nice. That's good. And the basketball coach saw me in the gym at lunch, asked if I wanted to try out for the team. What did you say? I said I'd think about it. Cairo looked uncertain. I've never played organized sports before. That doesn't mean you can't start. They cleaned up dinner together, washing dishes side by side. Adrian, Cairo said as he dried a plate. Yeah, I kept my promise today, to my mama, about going back to school. Adrian's hands stilled in the soapy water. She'd be so proud of you. Yeah, Cairo said softly. I think she would be. That night, Cairo stood at the big window in the living room, looking out at the city. The same window he'd stood at that first night, uncertain and scared. But now it felt different. Now he wasn't looking at a city that had rejected him. He was looking at a city full of possibilities. Adrian came to stand beside him. You know what I realized today? Cairo asked. What? That morning when I found your wallet, when I decided to return it instead of keeping the money. That decision changed everything. My whole life is different now. Mine too, Adrian said. That wallet connected us. But you're the one who made the choice. You could have kept it, could have disappeared, but you didn't. Mama used to say that doing the right thing doesn't always pay off right away. Sometimes it takes time. Sometimes you never see the reward. Cairo looked up at Adrian. But sometimes you do. They stood there together, looking out at the city as lights began to twinkle on in the growing darkness. Two people who'd been lost had found each other. Not because of fate or destiny, or luck, because of a choice. A simple choice to do the right thing. And that had made all the difference. 3 weeks after Cairo started school, Adrian came home early one Friday afternoon to find Cairo at the kitchen table, surrounded by textbooks and papers. How's the homework coming? Adrian asked, setting down his briefcase. Cairo looked up, frustrated. This algebra makes no sense. Why do I need to find x when I know it's right there? He pointed at the equation. Adrian laughed, really laughed, for the first time in years. Let me see. They worked through the problems together, Adrian explaining. Cairo catching on quickly once he understood the concept. You're good at this, Adrian said. Math, I mean. Mama was good at numbers. Used to help me with homework before. Cairo trailed off. Before she died, yeah.
Adrian was quiet for a moment. Can I tell you something I've learned? Sure, missing someone doesn't go away. It gets different, but it doesn't disappear. And that's okay. You don't have to forget your mother to be happy here. You don't have to choose. Do you still miss your wife and daughter every single day? Does it still hurt? Yes, but it's different now. It's not empty anymore. You know what I mean? Cairo nodded slowly. Yeah, I think I do. They finished the homework together, then made dinner. Spaghetti, Cairo's favorite. They were getting good at cooking together, developing a rhythm in the kitchen. After dinner, Cairo's phone buzzed. Adrian had gotten it for him a week ago, mainly for safety reasons, but Cairo was still getting used to having people to text. It's Marcus, Cairo said, looking at the screen. The kid from school. He wants to know if I can hang out tomorrow. Go to the park, play basketball. What did you tell him? That I'd have to ask you. Cairo looked uncertain. Is that weird, that I have to ask permission? That's what kids do. They ask their parents. The word hung in the air. Parents. Adrian had been careful not to push that. He was Cairo's guardian legally, but he wasn't trying to replace Malia. Is that what you are? Cairo asked quietly. My parent. Adrian sat down at the table. I'm whatever you need me to be. If you want to call me Adrian, that's fine. If you want to call me something else someday, that's fine too. There's no rush. No pressure. What do you want me to call you? Honestly, I just want you to be happy. Whatever makes you comfortable. Cairo thought about that. Can I think about it? Of course. Saturday Cairo went to the park with Marcus and a few other kids from school. Adrian walked him there, hung back to let the kids have space but stayed close enough to keep an eye on things. He watched Cairo play basketball, laughing when he missed a shot, celebrating when he made one. Watched him interact with other kids his age, fitting in, belonging. A woman sitting on a nearby bench smiled at Adrian. "Your son's got a good jump shot." Adrian started to correct her, then stopped. "Yeah, he does." When they walked home later, Cairo was sweaty and happy and talking a mile a minute about the game. "Marcus said I should try out for the team for real. He thinks I'd make it. What do you think?" "I think I want to try." "Then you should." That night, Adrian was in his home office, catching up on work, when Cairo knocked on the door. "Can I come in?" "Always." Cairo sat in the chair across from Adrian's desk. He was quiet for a moment, clearly working up to something. "I've been thinking," he said finally, "about what to call you." "Okay, I can't call you Dad. That feels wrong. Mama chose my name because it means first in Egyptian. She said I was her first and only. And my dad, whoever he was, he's not part of my life. I don't want to use that word for someone who wasn't there." Adrian nodded. "I understand, but Adrian feels too formal, too distant, and you're not distant. You're here. You're the person who makes sure I eat breakfast, who helps with homework, who worries about me when I'm at school." "Where are you going with this?" Adrian asked gently. "What if I just called you Pops? Is that weird?" "Pops." Simple, warm, not trying to be something it wasn't, but acknowledging what it was. Adrian's vision blurred with tears he'd been holding back. "That's not weird at all. I'd be honored." Yeah. Cairo smiled, relieved. "Okay, good." He started to leave, then turned back. "Pops. Yeah, I'm really glad I found your wallet that day." "Me too, son. Me too." The word slipped out naturally. "Son," and it felt right. Cairo grinned and went back to his room. Adrian sat at his desk, looking at the photograph of Alara and Arya he kept there. "I hope you don't mind," he whispered to them. "I hope you understand, I'm not replacing you. I'm living again, and I think you'd want that." The next few weeks flew by. Cairo made the basketball team. His grades were good, better than good. He was thriving. Adrian started coming home earlier from work, making sure he was there for dinner, for homework help, for the million small moments that make up a life. One evening in late January, Cairo asked if he could invite Marcus and a few other kids over to watch a movie. "Of course," Adrian said. The apartment filled with the noise of teenage boys, laughing and joking and eating all the snacks Adrian had bought. It was chaotic and messy and wonderful. After the kids left, Adrian and Cairo cleaned up the living room together. "Sorry about the mess," Cairo said, picking up empty soda cans. "Don't be. This is what homes are supposed to be like, lived in. Your home was never like this before, was it?" "Before me, no. It was quiet, empty, more like a museum than a home." "Do you miss it?" "The quiet." Adrian looked around at the scattered pillows, the blanket crumpled on the couch, the evidence of life and laughter. "Not even a little bit," he said. That night, Cairo stood at the big window again, his favorite spot. Adrian joined him, carrying 2 mugs of hot chocolate. "Thanks, Pops," Cairo said, taking one. Adrian still wasn't used to being called that, still felt a little surge of warmth every time he heard it. "You know what?" Cairo said, looking out at the city lights. "I used to stand on street corners and look up at buildings like this, wonder what it was like to live up here. If people up here were happy, and I thought they probably weren't. Thought they probably had everything except the things that mattered. Were you right?" "Yeah, at least about you." Cairo looked up at him. "Before, and now. Now, I think you're getting those things back. The things that matter." Adrian put his arm around Cairo's shoulders. "Because of you." They stood there in comfortable silence, watching the city below. Somewhere down there, another kid was probably cold, probably hungry, probably wondering if anyone saw them. Adrian made a mental note to talk to his foundation about expanding their programs for homeless youth. Maybe they could help. Maybe they could make a difference. "Cairo," Adrian said. "Yeah. Your mother would be so proud of you, of who you are, of who you're becoming." Cairo's voice was thick when he answered. "I hope so. I know so." They stayed at the window until their hot chocolate was gone, and the city lights had all come on. 2 people who'd found each other in the most unlikely way, building a family from broken pieces. Outside, winter was still harsh, still cold, but inside, there was warmth. there was laughter, there was hope, and there was love, growing slowly but surely, filling the empty spaces that grief had left behind. Not replacing what was lost, just making room for something new, something beautiful, something that started with a lost wallet and a choice to do the right thing, and grew into a family. The conference room on the 40th floor of Hale Tower was packed. Investors, board members, department heads, all gathered for the quarterly meeting. At the head of the table sat Adrian Hale, now 75, his hair completely silver but his eyes still sharp. Assistants, to as a resident. Beside him sat Cairo Grant Hale, 27 years old, wearing a tailored suit that fit perfectly. He was presenting the latest expansion proposal, his voice confident and clear. Our projections show a 32% growth in the community investment division, Cairo said, clicking to the next slide. We've partnered with 15 youth centers across the city, providing mentorship programs, job training and emergency housing. The return isn't just financial, it's human. Adrian watched him with quiet pride. The scared 12-year-old boy with mismatched shoes had become a man who commanded respect in boardrooms, but never forgot where he came from. After the meeting, they walked back to Adrian's office together. The walls were different now. Photographs lined the shelves. Alara and Arya, always, but also new ones. Cairo's high school graduation, valedictorian. His college graduation from Harvard, summa cum laude. The day he'd officially been adopted at 18, adding Adrian's name to his mother's, Cairo Grant Hale. A photograph of the three of them together, Cairo, Adrian, and a young woman with bright eyes and a warm smile. Sophia, Cairo's girlfriend from that first day of school, now his fiancée. You crushed that presentation, Adrian said, settling into his chair with a slight groan. His knees weren't what they used to be. Learned from the best. Cairo grinned, then his expression grew more serious. I got a call this morning, from Southridge Community Center. They want to expand the Shoeshine Scholarship Program. 5 years ago, Cairo had started a foundation in his mother's name. The Malia Grant Foundation provided support for homeless youth, including a program that taught them shoeshining and other skills while helping them get back into school. It had helped over 200 kids so far. That's excellent news, Adrian said. I was thinking, Cairo continued, pulling something from his briefcase. Maybe it's time. He set an old wooden shoeshine box on Adrian's desk, the same one he'd carried that winter day 15 years ago. The leather strap was worn smooth, but Cairo had kept it in perfect condition. Time for what? Adrian asked, though he thought he knew. To give it to someone who needs it. Pass it forward, like you passed forward what that teacher did for you. Adrian picked up the box carefully, feeling the weight of history in his hands. Your mother gave this to you, and now I want to give it to someone else. Someone who needs to know that honest work has dignity, that being poor in your pocket doesn't mean being poor in your heart. Cairo smiled. Mama would understand. She'd wanted to keep helping people. Adrian nodded slowly. You've become quite a man, Cairo. Your mother would be so proud. I know I am. You made that possible. You and Alara and Arya. How do you mean? You told me once that Alara made people feel like they belonged. That was her gift. Cairo's voice was soft. You gave me that same gift. You made me feel like I belonged when the whole world had told me I didn't. That changed everything. Adrian felt his eyes stink. Even after all these years, Cairo could still surprise him with his honesty, his insight, his kindness. You changed my life too, Adrian said. You reminded me what it meant to be alive, to care about something beyond balance sheets and quarterly reports. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Through the window the city spread out below them. Somewhere down there, another kid was probably struggling, cold, hungry, wondering if anyone saw them. I have a meeting with the Southridge director tomorrow, Cairo said. Want to come? There's a kid there, Marcus, 13, reminds me of someone. Adrian smiled. I'll clear my schedule. That evening they had dinner at Adrian's apartment. It was a tradition now, every Wednesday, no matter how busy they were. The apartment was different from those early days. Photographs covered the walls now. Life filled the space. Adrian had learned to live in it, not just exist. They cooked together, pasta with homemade sauce, Cairo's recipe. Sophia joined them,
bringing dessert and stories from her work at the public defender's office. Over dinner, Cairo talked about the foundation's latest success stories. A girl who'd gotten into college, a boy who'd landed his first job, a teenager who'd reunited with family after years on the streets. Each one mattered. Each one was a life changed. After Sophia left, Cairo and Adrian stood at the big window, the one where they'd stood so many times over the years. "You know what I realized," Cairo said, looking out at the glittering city. "That day I found your wallet. I thought I was just returning something you lost. But really we both found something we'd lost." "What's that?" "You'd lost your purpose. I'd lost my hope." Cairo looked up at Adrian. "We found each other, and that gave us both back what we'd been missing." Adrian put his arm around Cairo's shoulders, the way he'd done countless times over the years. "Your mother would be so proud of the man you've become. I think about her every day, what she'd think of all this. The foundation, the work we do." "Sophia," Cairo smiled. "I think she'd be happy. I think she'd say I kept my promise." "You did more than keep it. You honored it." They stood there together, father and son, not by blood but by choice, looking out at the city where their story had begun. Somewhere out there, another wallet might be lost, another kid might find it, another choice would be made. And because of what had happened 15 years ago, because Cairo now ran a foundation that helped hundreds of kids, the odds were a little better that the next scared, hungry child would have someone to turn to. The world was still hard, still cold, still unfair, but it was also full of second chances, full of people whose broken pieces fit together, full of moments when choosing to do the right thing changed everything. Cairo looked at the photographs on the mantel. Ilara and Aria, smiling forever. Next to them now was a picture of Malia, the only one Cairo had managed to find, wearing her work uniform, tired but smiling. "I think they'd be happy," Cairo said softly. "All of them, seeing us now, I think they'd be more than happy," Adrian said. "I think they'd say we finally figured out what matters." "What's that?" "That love doesn't die, it just changes shape. It becomes the reason you help a stranger, the reason you open your door to someone in need, the reason you keep going when everything else says to quit." Cairo nodded. "Mama used to say love is the only thing that grows when you give it away. She was a very wise woman." "Yeah, she really was." The snow started falling outside, light flakes drifting past the window, just like it had 15 years ago. But this time both of them were warm, both of them were home. And tomorrow they'd go find another kid who needed to know that someone saw them, someone cared, because that's what you do when someone gives you a second chance at life. You pass it forward, you make sure the light that was lit for you keeps burning for someone else. And you never ever forget that sometimes the smallest act of kindness, returning a lost wallet, can change two lives forever. Outside the city slept under fresh snow. Inside, two hearts that had been broken had learned to beat again. Together.
Join us to share meaningful stories by hitting the like and subscribe buttons. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell to start your day with profound lessons and heartfelt empathy.